chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not puppy drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been, let this dance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you've never run before.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby Blog. It's myself, John Anderson, in the hot seat tonight. Joining me for the moment, we have none other than Johnny McGinty. Johnny, congratulations on being time. I'm kind of saying that to myself as well.
Yeah, it was squeaky bum time for a minute there, I think, for everybody, but we're here.
We're here on time. As you've said previously, the best ability is availability. So we are here, we are on time, and we are ready to delve into what has been another fascinating week in the world of rugby. We're going to bring you some news. We're going to have a wee look at those URC games. So yes, we are. And then let's
do that before he gets here.
Yeah, well, we're under time pressure, so we'll quickly batter through the news, and then we can do that. But first, welcome, anybody that's joining us for the first time. If you like what you hear, you might need help, but other than that, you can also come and pay for this, believe it or not. Come and join us on patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Blog, where you can pay £3 a month and get yourself exclusive content, including our wonderful Hands of the Ruck section, which we do every week behind the paywall, where me, Johnny, Craig, and others will get a little bit leery and put the world to rights. So it's worth the poundage alone to come and subscribe to that. But if you head over there, I'll pop the wee banner up. Oh, pressed the wrong button there. Where is it? It's that one. We'll pop the wee banner up there, and anybody watching this live can come and see that. If you're listening on audio, that makes no sense to you at all. Head over patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast and see what you find. Anyway, that was quick. We whistle-stopped through that. We're under time pressure here because we need to get onto the URC. First of all, news. As if by magic, given the performance at the weekend, we've had one out, one in prop life at Edinburgh Rugby. probably one of the worst kept secrets in Scottish rugby, Murray McCallum, was only at Edinburgh temporarily and is off to Newcastle Falcons to join the growing Scottish contingent down there and ex-Warriors at Newcastle, because Kieran McDonald's off there as well.
Yeah, and I think Murray deserves it. He was obviously on with us a couple of months back, and is great value, really, really good player, fantastic prospect, plays both sides, an asset to any club, I would say.
I would agree with that.
And fair play, Falcons is a club that's, I want to say it seems like it's a club that's going places, but every couple of years Newcastle seem like a club that's going places, and then they just never seem to actually quite get there. So maybe the addition of Murray and Big K will help them.
Well, they're going to have one of the biggest second row partnerships in the history of the world now in Kieran McDonald and Greg Peterson. I was looking at one of the Newcastle forums, and Peterson was described as a bit of a unit, and it's like, well, that is as understated as you could possibly get. He is massive. So that'll be interesting to see them linking up again down at Newcastle. I think you're absolutely right. Newcastle always look like a team who are going places. It's just sometimes that place seems to be the Championship. So we'll hopefully that won't be the case. And I'm sure Murray will do really, really well down there. So his able-bodied replacement coming north for the second time, although you may not have spotted him first time. None other than Javan Sebastian. There's been rumours for a wee while about him coming north. Edinburgh seems like a sensible place for him, especially given that if he had signed for Glasgow, I think I would have just quit the podcast. I couldn't handle it.
It's interesting to me that he obviously is a Scarlets player at the moment, so he must have watched Edinburgh Scarlets this weekend. That'll do. That's the club for me.
That is the level I want to be playing at. Oh dear me. No, I mean, obviously he's coming north to, he's under the SRU management. He's a Scots qualified. Joking aside, it's a tight head prop who's actually Scots qualified playing in Scotland. It's a rarity over at Edinburgh.
Yeah, it's a bit rich for us, I think, who complain about our tight head stocks all the time, to be finally getting a Scottish tight head play for a Scottish team. And me and you sitting here going, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exactly what we need. It's what we've been asking for ages. He will be. I mean, WPL is not going to be around forever, theoretically. Javan Sebastian.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's how private medical insurance works. Like, they're basically turning WP into a cyborg. Isn't that how it works?
That's what they're spending all their research money on.
Yeah.
Javan Sebastian will be coming in expecting to be a fixture of the Edinburgh team and Scotland squad, so that's what he's coming here for. So fingers crossed it pans out that way for him.
Yeah. Well, we wish Javan all the best coming north. Just for certain weeks of the year, we'll not wish him that well, and hopefully he gets a wee bit more game time than last time he was here, because whilst he was a Glasgow Warrior, believe it or not, people, he was actually on partnership with Ayr and didn't play very much, and he wasn't injured. So, take what you will from that. But anyway, he's obviously made a good career for himself and is now escaping the bin fire that is Welsh rugby. Oh yes, we will come back to that in due course, people. Looking forward to a wee discussion on that. Right, URC. Let's start with Edinburgh. Oh my days.
It feels mean to start with him before he gets here. But at the same time...
I'm getting told to turn my mic down 2 seconds. I thought I had it set. Sorry. There you go. Is that better, guys? Just I thought I had it set from last time.
I always want you to turn your mic down. So
yeah, I know. Is that actually you? You on the side chat?
Yeah, I'm just shady on the side.
If the Facebook user in question
turn it down.
Yeah,
further down.
You want it further down?
No, I don't really want it further down.
Thank you. Excellent. Yes, I had it set from last time, but yes, obviously the platform we use is occasionally a bit quirky, and I often have to like default back because it loves my webcam. It loves going to my webcam and it wants to use that as the thing. But anyway, mics are sorted. This was all Alan's plan to cut into Edinburgh slagging time. Smart, Alan. I like
He
it.
just wants you to be quieter when you're talking about Edinburgh.
Yeah, it was such glee in my voice. Anyway, that was a very disappointing result at the weekend for Edinburgh down at the Scarlets.
It really, really was. Considering, like you said earlier, everything that's going on in Welsh rugby at the moment, considering what happened to two of their other regions, the absolute wallopings that they took. Edinburgh took, and I think I said this in our group chat at the time, Edinburgh have got too many players who are too good to be turning in performances like that. Like that Edinburgh team, you know, it's a Six Nations break week and all of that. That Edinburgh team was better than that by quite a long way. Can we say how sorry we are to Chris, regular listener, friend of the pod, Chris Veal, by the way, who travelled to Llanelli for that game with his family. What a shame.
Yeah, I was dishing out abuse when they were 202 miles away from Llanelli, dishing out abuse that it was going to be a pumping. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to be so bad as that, so I haven't apologised to him, but sorry, dude.
I was on RAP, the Welsh Regional Rugby podcast last week, and they asked me to do I was stepping in for Carwyn, and they asked me to do Carwyn's predictions. And like purely to wind up Craig, when it came to that game, I said Scarlets by 25 as a bit of a joke. And then by the end of Saturday, I was like, "Oh man, if they could keep it to 25, that would be really good."
Yeah. So I mean, you say about the team that they put out, and there isn't any nice way to put this, right? I've got the team in front of me here. Right, you've got Wes Goosen, Damien Hoyland International, Mark Bennett International, James Lang International, Jack Blaine, young up and coming, Charlie Sevilla has been probably Edinburgh's best 10 this season. Charlie Shield, who didn't have his best game, Boan Venter, McBurney, Murray McCallum, Glenn Young, Jamie Hodgson, Nick Hayning, Hamish Watson, Phil Mata. That's an international team for the most part. To go down to the Scarlets and take the shellacking they took, given, as you rightly say, everything that's going on in Wales at the moment, I don't want to be that guy and start going, questions need to be asked. But
yeah,
like, what do you do with that?
And the thing is, like, where do you start?
Yeah, like, it's not been a.
And I don't mean that in like I don't mean that in a horrible way, because I know that all of the Edinburgh fans are going to be like, well, it's you two Glasgow fans and you're Glasgow bias and you just want to be mean to us. And I really genuinely don't. I genuinely mean that's a really good team with great players, with international players in it. So what happened that went that badly wrong? Yeah.
I mean, fair play to the Scarlets, right? So given everything that's going on, it would have been very easy for them to just kind of capitulate, just, you know, go on strike prior to going on strike, but not going on strike, as we'll come to.
Like the Ospreys did.
Yeah. Ospreys 50-odd points. Yeah, that was an absolute pasting. It was brutal. It would have been easy for the Scarlets to do that, but fair play to them. They actually turned up. They did turn up, and some of their bigger names stood up. You know, again, guys, Steph Evans, who was the next big thing until the next big Welsh wing turned up, he had a great game. He looked very, very good. And they just dominated Edinburgh from this very start. Like, I put it on my laptop because my wee one was watching the television, and I was like, well, I'm not going to put you off the big television for Edinburgh. It's not worth that. And
Sorry. What, 15 minutes in, you're like, you know what? It actually is. let's get this on.
I know. Well, I came over and I was like, oh, it's 0-0, cool. I was like, right, so the kitchen is literally, the fridge is there. I could finish a sentence by the time I get to the fridge and back, and I came back and they were 7 down. I was like, oh, And then I was like, all right, it's fine. Nah, they're fine. They're playing okay. Then they were 14 down. And it's like, oh, right. And at that point, I asked my child to get off the telly. So I was like, here we go.
Something great's happening.
Something magnificent. No, we obviously joke about this. But so probably the thing I probably want to talk about the game, like there's no analysis of the game that you can actually do. It was a pasting, right? Very few players come out of that with any credit, and probably with this, the way the trajectory of the season's going for Edinburgh now, I was only half joking about questions being asked. Mike Blair is under pressure. There's no doubt about it, and I talked about it on the Ulster podcast that I was on about the trajectory of coaches and how quickly things could change. Mike Blair was the messiah 3 months ago.
Do you remember it was between him and Dan McFarlane for who was going to take over? Like we were getting rid of Gregor Townsend and we were having either Mike Blair or Dan McFarlane. And
I do remember this.
I don't think anyone would have either of them.
Yeah, that's what I was saying on Monday night, that actually Dan McFarlane, we were laughed at for suggesting him because it's like, there's no way you could get him. Like he's an up and like he's racing with these Ulster team. And now we wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. It's crazy how quickly it turns around.
Mike Blair has been really open and honest and got a lot of plaudits for that around the 1872 Cup when he said, I don't know what to do here. I don't know why the players aren't responding. I can't work out what the problem is, which was great, but that was in December. And it's not fixed yet. Like if you're a coach with international aspirations where you're only getting players for 6 weeks at a time, you've had your team now for 2 months since you said, I don't know what's going wrong and I need to work it out so we can fix it, and don't seem to have fixed any of it. Like that's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you do have that situation where, like, I think there was a lot of so it's back to maybe the expectations that I've kind of talked about quite a few times in this podcast about people. So Edinburgh were better last year. They were much better than Glasgow. Glasgow were honking, right? And yet Edinburgh finished a position ahead of Glasgow and only finished ahead of them because they smashed us at that game that Cammy tried to fight a mascot. Like, you're talking about an improvement, but you're not talking about a stellar season. Let's be honest, right? And the way it was, just the way certain fans put it forward was like, yes, we're playing amazing rugby and we're a really good team and we've got an amazing pack and we've got this brilliant backline led by Blair Kinghorn. And it just doesn't seem realistic. And I think and I said it in the summer that we could find ourselves in second season syndrome here, the difficult second album, because a lot of what Edinburgh did get well last year was unknowns. It was teams weren't expecting it, and now everybody's analysed it. They all know what they're doing. So it's now up to them to evolve, and they're struggling with that. And you're absolutely right. You've got a novice coach who is being very transparent about his shortcomings, and that is refreshing, but it's also how you get yourself the sack. So, because ultimately we're in a performance business, and we'll probably talk in due course about some of us have listened to the Aaron Walsh interview that's been doing the rounds on YouTube and stuff, and Aaron Walsh is the mental skills coach that's consulting with Scotland at the moment. And some of the stuff he says it's very interesting to hear it in the context of seeing professional coaches in action. And Mike Blair is in a position where he's not creating a winning culture, unfortunately, and they may find that becomes a problem quite quickly. What do Edinburgh take away from that, Johnny? Other than, well, I don't know. What do they take away from that?
I honestly don't know. To be brutally honest, they're at a real kind of fork in the road now, because you're right, they had that great season. People have kind of caught on to them. It's now not going right. They've obviously, I mean, Mike Blair, as good as came out and said, they know it's not going right. But what they need to do now is they need to work out how to fix it. Identifying it is one thing. The next step is they have to fix it. And honestly, from having watched that game on Saturday, I'm being genuine and like genuine. I'm being genuine and not trying to like take a dig at Edinburgh when I say this. I don't know where I would start to fix that.
Yeah, and
Because
I think
that team that they put out on Saturday is much better than that.
Much better than that. And so this is an interesting one. I'm going to bring this comment up. So I was actually just about to come on to this point, Hamish. Hamish Allen has said, but they qualified for the last 16 of the Champions Cup, though.
Good. Do I get to talk about how much I hate this Champions Cup format because everyone qualified for the last 16 of the Champions Cup?
Yeah, you do. But, right, so my point was going to be that I wouldn't be comfortable. So from an Edinburgh fan perspective, and we had this last couple of seasons at Glasgow where people were saying, oh, we got this good result. And I do remember enjoying those results, very much enjoying them. But they've been very clear, look, the bread and butter is your league. We have to be winning consistently in the league. We have to be performing better. And you've got this situation now where Edinburgh are getting these big results, but it's kind of almost papering over the cracks of a season that is disintegrating very quickly in terms of the league. And the other argument that you will hear from fans, and again, we've done this, so we're experts in this, we know where you're at, guys, don't worry. If you want the number of a therapist, I'll give you one. Danny Wilson. It's that expectation that when the internationals come back, it'll be okay. Because obviously they've got internationals away. They have got very good players away. But as you rightly say, Johnny, that team had lots of internationalists in it. That team was by far and away better than the Scarlets, like on paper. Should have been putting them away, even away from home. And to take the performance out in isolation, take the type of result that is, it's happened a few times this year. So I don't think qualified for the last 16 really cuts it. And this is now your opportunity, Johnny, just to have a little rant about Champions Cup.
I don't know. Because the way that they organise the fixtures in this group stage, I'm one of the few people who actually quite likes it. I like the way that they keep the domestic leagues away from each other. Yeah. I like it's a bit weird that everyone plays slightly different teams, but it's good because you get to see teams you don't normally see. Yeah. You get your home and aways and stuff. That bit I really, really like. But there's 20 teams in the Champions Cup, and then 16 go to the last 16, 2 go to the Challenge Cup, and 2 are out of it completely. So like you're talking about 85-ish% of the teams who go into the Champions Cup carrying on into some form of knockout rugby. Like, it's good for Edinburgh. It's going to be a great weekend for everyone that's going down to Leicester. Leicester are no great shakes at the moment either. Edinburgh might find themselves tumbling down the URC and in the quarterfinals of the Champions Cup. Like, that's not out with the bounds of possibility. But the way things are going at the moment, I don't think that the Champions Cup last 16 is the banner game that it used to be. Because let's be perfectly honest, Edinburgh were a good team last year. They were one of the last or the bottom URC qualifiers into the Champions Cup. Yeah. They had that great performance against Saracens, but they didn't look convincing in the group stages. They won 2, or did they win 3? Did they beat the French team both times?
I think they might have beat the French team both times. I can't remember.
There are teams in those Champions Cup last 16 who won 1 game. Like, yeah. It is now not a huge thing. It'll be great. It's really good for them. They have put in some really good performances, but it's not what it used to be in the knockouts of the Champions Cup. I will find it quite weird because I don't think it's impossible for them to be in the quarterfinals.
No,
the draw that they've got.
No, I think.
But they could be in the quarterfinals and be well out of the Champions Cup places for next year at the same time, in basically the same weekend.
Yeah. Well, they're 11th in the league just now, so bit of work to do. Will we stick on URC so Craig can arrive in time and come in?
Just as we're talking about Glasgow, can I talk about the one thing that really annoyed me on Saturday night?
Please, let's do it. Was it our group chat?
It was going to be my hands in the ruck, and I talked about it on Twitter. But I feel like it's the sort of thing that really we need to be addressing as much as we can, which is Sam Lousy. I think it was Sam Lousy.
Oh yeah.
That he had disallowed could not have done anything more right. So he stands at the edge of the ruck and he watches Shield mucking about with the ball, and he turns around to the referee and says, "That's out, sir. Is that out?" And Andrea Piardi goes, "Yeah, that's out." So Lousy goes and picks it up and scores, and then it goes to the TMO, and Piardi realizes that actually it never was out, and he pings Lousy for offside. Now, by the letter of the law, if the ball wasn't out and Lousy goes and grabs it, then yes, he's offside, right? But if you turn around to the referee and say, "Sir, is that out?" and he looks at the ball and then looks at you and says, "Yes," and then you go and pick it up, I don't think it's very fair for him to then ping you for offside when he realizes he got it wrong. Now, I don't know what the solution is, but to me, that seemed really unfair. I was like, if I was Sam Lousy, I'd been absolutely fuming. I was quite fuming just watching it.
So the solution is actually really simple. And here we go. I'm going to put the world of rugby. I'm going to sort a massive bugbear. Solve it. Here we go, guys. Strap yourselves in. This is lecture time, right? The simple solution is referees are not coaches and should not be coaching. So asking referee question like, "Is that out, sir?" The referee should not be giving an answer on that. It is up to the interpretation of the players to go, "Oh, that looks out." Bang. Runs, scores a try. Referee doesn't call it. Fine. TMO. Do you know what? It wasn't out. Oh, hard shakes. Good effort. Referees coach far too much, and it really bugs me because I know it's right. This is probably just my big Scottish bias coming through here, right? But it does feel like we get overcoached when, like, certain opposition we play against get overcoached against us. And we'll maybe come on to some of the refereeing decisions in the Glasgow game, but there is an element of referees are there to ping what's wrong. They're not there to tell you what is right or tell you when you're about to do something wrong. It's not a preventative solution. It's they're there to enforce laws. They're not there to go, "You're straying quite close to that one there, sir. Back that up. Oh, everyone on side. Oh, yeah, behind." And I know it's trying to improve the spectacle, but I think it's counter to that. It actually harms the game at times because you've got people just being like, people don't have to think. They just get, back rows stand on the edge of the ruck and get coached through it by the referee. You do that in minis. You don't do that at professional level. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But I would just scrap that. I would say referees, you're not allowed to coach them. Don't ask the referees questions on those things. You ask it after the play.
But yeah, that won my ticket. Anyway, that really annoyed me.
It's quite annoying, yeah. There you go. I've solved it for you. So
good, thanks.
World Rugby, if you just send me the consultancy fee for that, and we'll get that sorted. Shall we move across the? We'll go this way. I don't know, like, what directions is that working? Because, like, my camera's flipped, and I'm like, yeah. Anyway, we'll come across to Glasgow, shall we? Glasgow played Ulster for the first time at Scotstoun since 2019. Any defenders of the URC Pro 16, Pro 14, Rainbow Cup shenanigans?
Yeah, I think there were some fairly serious outside factors to that, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, I will allow that. There was one or two things also happening. But I love that Craig's just arrived just in time for Glasgow.
Do you think he sat there and listened to the
He did. He was, and he's absolutely fuming. You can see it in his Hoover-selling eyes. So, all right, Dracula.
Evening, how are we
Good
doing?
evening, Mr. Manson. We're good. We just finished talking about Edinburgh.
Thank God.
We thought you might not have too much to add to it other than grrr. So we let you off the hook.
Yeah, I've not got very much to say about Edinburgh at the moment.
How's the television?
Sorry?
How's the television? Is it okay?
I
Did you get it fixed?
I need a new one.
I said television. I didn't say head coach. Sorry.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, okay. So funny. Anyway,
we're talking about Glasgow, Craig. So first time since 2019. Definitely a game for the purists. It's safe to say. Terrible conditions in Glasgow. There's a shock, and neither team really fancying. Well, I don't know if they didn't fancy playing rugby or the conditions made it so, but it was a fairly awful game. Ulster were by far and away the better team in the first half, Johnny, and in seasons gone by, the way I would describe it, seasons gone by, that's a game Glasgow lose very comfortably.
Yeah, definitely, and that's been one of the big things that Franco's brought into Glasgow this year is a mindset shift to keep them in games. Because you're right, if that had been even a year ago, Glasgow lose that game. Glasgow were in a game like that with Ulster, albeit much more high scoring, in Ulster last season and conspired to lose it.
Yeah.
And this year, that is the main difference, is that Glasgow are winning games that last season they would have lost from that sort of position.
It's a good correction of the bias there, Johnny. I like that. That was very, very professional of you. Craig, have you had an opportunity to peruse the game at the weekend?
Yeah, I watched the game actually.
Yeah. What was your takeaways?
I think for me, I think it's really, really nice to see Glasgow seeming to play like a team again, instead of looking to others to make a miracle score. I think from what we can see with Franco has really brought the team together, and they seem to be enjoying playing together. Whether it's the non-Scotland players or the Scotland players are involved. I love the ruck speed. I love the ambition. But also, I'm going to get a dig in here, but you are dealing with an Ulster that aren't firing on all cylinders. So, but I can't really level that at Glasgow, because Glasgow are performing, if you look at the last 8 games they've won, so you can't really throw mud at them. You can't really do very much as an Edinburgh supporter, apart from be a little bit admiring of how they're doing. It was a good game.
This is how it goes sometimes, buddy. We were there the last couple of years.
This sounds like last season, but opposite.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't as harsh on the group chat that we have. I wasn't as harsh as Mr. Anderson and Mr. Ginty. I've got to say, in fact, I was. If any of our listeners were watching Twitter as well, I wasn't as harsh as Cammy was the other day.
Cammy absolutely brought the violence, didn't he?
Here was me thinking it was Johnny that was posting.
I know some of the things that I get accused of.
Wow,
I like to think I'm harsh but fair. Personally.
Yeah, well, I just kind of went, if these are my friends, where are my enemies? My God.
So, Craig, I'll stick with you for a second. Speaking of non-Scotland players, Ali Price came off the bench in the second half, and for me, probably changed the game. Looked very assured, kicked a lot of ball, but a much improved performance from Ali Price. No chance we'll see him this weekend, do we?
It depends on what Tooney's wanting to do. If the first 2 games, honestly, from what I can see, Townsend has put the teams together for the first 2 games and just gone, you know what, sod it. I'm happy with our defence. Let's give them the ball. Let's let them play with the ball a little bit, and then let's attack when we can attack. And I don't think Ali Price over the time, over his time of playing, as he went through the Lions, going through Lions, etc., he has almost had the sharpness knocked off him, and he'll go to a box kick quicker than he will a dart down the inside. So he's whether it's he's become more rugby intelligent, and he's made this decision, right? I must box kick here, or that's what he's doing. What Saturday showed was at Scotstoun showed that he's still not lost any of his class. I just don't. So to answer your question, John, I think he'll stick with Ben White and George Horn. But on the other side of things, if he did bring Ali Price in, that he's looking to attack in the first half and then bring Ali Price on to kind of steady the ship. Do a Greg Laidlaw-ish style of finishing off.
I think it was interesting because I think the conditions in particular really played into that. Like, you're absolutely right. The development of Ali Price, he has become more of a game manager in that sense, less of the dynamic sniper that George Horn definitely brings. And I think Glasgow do benefit from having that speed at 9. And actually, Horn is definitely number 1 at Glasgow. There's suggestions even Dobby's maybe number 2 at Glasgow. Price is really struggling for game time. The conditions themselves were really, really, really difficult. But game management, let's speak about the other side for a second, Johnny. Because we had the situation, and I believe as of today, perhaps he may find himself Scots qualified. John Cooney came off the bench for Ulster, the world-renowned game manager John Cooney. What was your take on it? And you've heard me speak about this. Where do you place him in the Scotland pecking order, Johnny?
Right. We've just spoken about Ali Price. Ali Price is 18 months out of being a test lion.
Test lion, correct.
And can't get on the bench for Scotland.
Yeah.
So, in what world does it make sense for either party to bring John Cooney into the Scotland squad? He's 32 years old. Like, this isn't Ben Healy, and I know like people sort of equate the two of them.
No way.
Ben Healy's 22? 23, and is playing in a position where, if we're all being honest, and I said this to you guys a couple of weeks ago, if we set aside the Edinburgh side, the Glasgow side, the like stirring the pot about BK15 or whatever you want to do, if we're being perfectly honest, we've got 2 test quality fly halves. We've got Finn Russell, we've got Adam Hastings, and Ross Thompson and Blair Kinghorn are suitable-ish replacements, but you wouldn't want them to be the test fly half that you're relying on. So you bring over a 23-year-old like Ben Healy, who's shown some really interesting stuff at Munster, who's probably got 10 or 15 years of international rugby in him. That makes all the sense in the world. John Cooney, a full decade older than him, in a position where we've got a test lion who can't get on the bench, never mind starting, is madness. Like, I've got a theory about it, because my theory is that the only people who keep persisting with this as like a credible news story are people pushing the narrative of Scotland going around stealing other people's players. And so they've picked the fact that John Cooney's become eligible for Scotland to go, and now Scotland are going after John Cooney and they're going to have John Cooney in their team. We're not. Scotland have got no interest in John Cooney. John Cooney would be absolutely mental to come and try and get a game for Scotland, because I'm not as harsh as you. I wouldn't put him at 8th, but I certainly wouldn't put him in a matchday squad. If he was very lucky, he'd be 5th. Very lucky.
Going very lucky for 5th. Craig, you would take Cooney at Edinburgh, though, right?
After the weekend's performance, probably. I think Charlie Shields just just unlucky. He's not had the game time that he needs to develop, and he showed himself as just. Don't know if it was rusty or he just looked like he needed more game time. So I think Velikot is right on the edge of knocking on the door of Scotland. If Ben White didn't come along, you probably would have seen Velikot coming in and getting a cap at least. So really, Cooney would be great to come into Edinburgh as you got Velikot starting, Cooney on the bench, or the other way around, and develop more of Charlie Shield. But he's not going to come over here and lose the opportunity to play for Ireland. At last gasp, just to come over and play second fiddle to Ben Velikot at Edinburgh. I'd take him, but I think he's a big chunk of money for that we could be spending on someone else.
So we'll finish up on this part. I just want to talk very briefly. You mentioned Charlie Shield there, Craig. I agree with you. I think he's a guy who's not had the game time that he could have, should have, would have had for quite a few years now.
Yeah,
and we still talk about him as possibly still in the kind of the George Horn, almost Benjamin Button style approach we have to our scrum halves, where just because he looks young, I mean, Charlie Shield's 25, right?
Yeah.
You need to be playing regular rugby at 25. You need to be playing first team rugby at 25. He came onto the scene. He's got a massive amount of potential. So it's interesting hearing you just describe that scenario there where you've got Velikot and Cooney and still developing Charlie Shield at 25.
John, I totally understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to do is give the guy a bit of a break.
Because
to be brutally honest, he had a shocker, and
he had a shocker.
It's for, I would have preferred to have seen Pyrgos on the park than him. And
we're not on Patreon yet, Craig. Easy up.
You know my feelings on Henry.
Dirty language to yourself.
Yeah. Wash your mouth out.
Well, ever since Henry steered me out at the Edinburgh game,
because this is going to help, Craig.
Yeah, this is going to help. No, I
know what you mean, mate.
I'm being flippant here, and I do apologise. What I'm trying to say is that I still look upon Charlie Shield as someone who's developing. I think you are at this point now, though, where I think Edinburgh have done what we need them to do, and that is bring on a possible international level 10. I think 9 is now where we are, because Velikot, I think, is very, very good. I'm looking for, I like Velikot as a team player, as an Edinburgh player. He plays well to the Edinburgh game plan. What we need is somebody who is a steady hand. And that's where Pyrgos has come in. But I don't see Pyrgos extending his contract. If he does, it will only be for another year. So what do we do? Do we say, right, we're put cashing all our chips in on Charlie Shield? Or has he shown on Sunday night that the team have moved on and he hasn't? So it's a difficult one, because I want to give the guy a break. I think he's been great for Edinburgh at times, but I think if we're going to do anything, I think we get him out and let him play some Super Six and get him playing regularly.
He needs to play rugby. That's the thing. He needs to play rugby at age 25. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And without bandying about the point, he did have a shocker. Like, you need your players that are, like, particularly in these windows where we say, we say that there's no clash with the international fixtures, but there always is when you're essentially contracted.
Yeah.
So you are going to need these players to step up. And for me, I don't think Shield is of the quality that Edinburgh need. If I'm being brutal, I don't think he's up to the standard Edinburgh need. I don't think his development's been well handled, but ultimately, I don't think he is as good as Edinburgh need. And I think that if he was to be let go, that wouldn't be a massive surprise to me.
I think
I wouldn't enjoy
also,
that, but of course I wouldn't enjoy that. But I
No.
think that's the reality.
You also though have to be a little bit. What I would say is, I think his forwards hung him out to dry on the weekend.
Oh yes, they did. Yes.
And there was times he was at the back of the ruck, ready to go with either a box kick or whatever, and he still asked. You could hear him on the mic, the ref mic, asking for players to come in, and they're still standing around looking at him. And I think personally, I think we talked about it in the chat. It was Edinburgh. I'm sorry to go back to Edinburgh because obviously you guys have talked about Edinburgh probably, but they looked like they were going back to the old days of driving their car from one side of Murrayfield to the other, because they just didn't seem to have any oomph about them. And I was quite, as we've talked about, I was quite shocked about it because I thought we were going to at least give Scarlets a game. Whether we come back with a loss or a win, I thought we were going to give them a game, and we just didn't. Yeah. Well,
that's the thing. That team should have, and that team should have given them a game. And me and Johnny, none of us were quite as brutal as that. So you have added wonderfully to the Edinburgh story, Craig. Thank you.
The other thing to say, though, to be fair to both Charlie Shield and George Horn, is something that we're kind of slowly coming round to, I think, is that there is a serious conversation to be had about the age profile of athletes now.
Yeah.
The way that conditioning is going, the way that medical care is going and things like that. 25, 26 for an international, for an elite level athlete is not the age that it used to be. I mean, Ireland have got Sexton at like 340 still playing. Keir Healy still playing in the front row in his mid-late 30s, WP Nell. And it's not just rugby. You look at other sports, you've got Tom Brady in the NFL, 42. LeBron James is 37. They're still at the very top of their game. Andy Murray's getting on. He's still top of his game. Same with Rafael Nadal. I think that the age profile of top-level athletes is not the same as it used to be. So where before we would have said 25, 26, you have been playing professionally for 8 years, you should now be at the very peak of your career thinking about it becoming a downslide quite soon. Actually, it's not like that anymore. The two of them could quite easily play close to another decade at the top level.
I think
it's unfair to say we shouldn't still be bringing them on at 26 because we might have to.
No, can I just be one? I do want to make one point and be fair to Charlie Shield. The lad is there every game day. He's working hard. He's just not getting the game time. And as far as I'm concerned, if you look at George Horn, he's what George Horn was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think just how we're talking about development and this and the other. Yes, we're maybe not trying to develop him, but I tell you what, he needs to get game time. And I think just as we talked about, John, just as we said earlier, even if he goes to a Super Six side, if he's not playing that week or whatever, get him out and get him game time because he will then come on stronger, faster, and.
Yeah, really what you want Charlie Shield, when he's putting on an Edinburgh shirt, to have the best opportunity to showcase what he has, which is a substantial amount of talent. No one's debating that. I think Charlie Shield's a wonderful player. I personally just think his development has been mismanaged, and you guys were saying exactly this. You're absolutely right with that comparison, Craig. You guys were saying the same last year and the year before with George Horn.
Yeah.
So we're in this position again. I think the kicker here, and I'm not going to use kicker. Kicker's an interesting term because it can mean lots of things in rugby, but the kicker here is that Glasgow have got a British and Irish line that can't get a game. They've got Jamie Dobby, who needs to be running a show quite soon because he is SRU are clearly backing him as being next in line. You've got Ben White tearing it up in the Premiership. You've got George Horn, who's number one at Glasgow now. Those numbers don't necessarily add up to someone not going over to Edinburgh from a Glasgow perspective. And we might find ourselves in that situation again. We just don't have a Henry Purgos to send to you this time, Craig.
Yeah, thanks. We'll have Ali Price. Whoopee.
I'm sorry. Do you not have enough Lions? Would you like to send there as well?
No. Yeah, just typical. It's always a way.
Honestly.
I have to deal with your cast-offs, I tell you.
We've got to deal with your test Lion cast-offs.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, do you want Alan Dell as well? Would you like Dell back?
Of course, he would look lovely in an Edinburgh shirt.
Oh, of course he would, yeah.
Aladale looks
so-
lovely in anything. Be serious.
This is true. Right, executive decision. We're going to save the Welsh bin fire for Patreon. Yes, you lovely Patreons, you're going to enjoy that. Anyway, we will cover the whole of the Welsh bin fire, but Welsh Rugby is on fire. And
Does a tier 2 team qualify for Patreon?
They're not 12th in the world yet, Craig. That's this weekend.
Yet.
No, that's very unfair of us because we have lovely Welsh listeners who have obviously gloated marvellously over the years and caused us no end of discomfort. So we will, of course, be civil to them. Let's talk Six Nations. Let's not talk about South Africa, Johnny. We don't need to talk about South Africa. We're not going to cover the Glasgow game for South Africa. In my head, it's not even happening. It's fine. It'll be okay. Six Nations, France this weekend. We don't know the teams yet because it's a Sunday fixture. Really quite upsets me. But what are we expecting to see? Same again?
I think as near as damn it, we probably do know the Scotland team because I don't see any reason to make any changes. I don't see why you would make any changes other than obviously get rid of Xander. He's a penalty magnet. Get WP Nail back in. Scoot.
Yeah,
Leave the team as it is.
Yeah, please find your emergency exits here, here, and here. Craig, some people over your side of the woods. I'm saying your side of the woods. Obviously, you're not in Edinburgh, but you're an Edinburgh fan. The chant was Watson will be in the squad. Now, based on the showing at the weekend, that surprises me.
Yes. But on the other side of things, first things first, I don't think he will be. I think if he is going to be anywhere, he'll be on the bench. I don't see him. I don't see him replacing Crosby. I think the Crosby, Fagerson, Jamie Ritchie back three is a winning one. It's working very, very well, and especially considering a lot of people said, "Luke Crosby, come on, get a grip." And I'm pleased he's proving a few people wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, no matter what, I love Hamish, and Hamish has done a huge amount for the Scotland jersey, for the Edinburgh jersey. I just don't think he's really just right there yet. But you never know. It's Tooney. You never know what might happen.
This is very true. Now, we do know a few things. Because, Johnny, you'll have seen the picture of the Glasgow Warriors heading off to South Africa. So we know there's a few players have been released. So the chances of them getting back from South Africa in the event of an injury, very, very, very slight. Simon Bergen's away.
Mm-hmm.
He's Cummings. In South Africa. Scott Cummings is in South Africa. Sam Johnson, obviously expected. He's in South Africa. The Bergen one is the one that flummoxes me, right? Because ultimately, Simon Bergen is, at the moment, third choice. Now, I can only imagine Javin must have been tearing it up in training and ripping up trees and blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest, Bergen's been third choice. He was the bench for England. It just seems a massive risk that players go down injured all the time. And the international game is the priority here. And actually, this is a rescheduled game that we almost played with the kit man playing at fullback. It was pretty dire straits at one point. So I don't understand why we're not just letting this one go. Oh, Johnny's electricity's just went out.
No, I think that was my wife turning down the wrong light.
She's turning you off, Johnny. She's just like, nope. None of that nonsense now. So we know a few players are away. Craig, France, the wounded beast after the greatest Six Nations game of all time, trademark, according to some fans from Ireland. What are you expecting to see? It's got to be same again, hasn't it? It's got to be much of muchness.
It really does. I think if we go with the same team. I think if we go with the same work, I think we'll do very, very well. I don't know if anyone listened to Finn Russell on the BBC podcast, but he sounds incredibly in control, incredibly ready for the game, and it dare I say it, gives me a little bit of excitement. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Harwas is playing. I think he's starting because what's his name? The other Antonio's been banned. So yeah. Jamie Ritchie will get a chance to wind his ticket and see if he gets another punch in the face. So we'll wait and see. I think we're due a full-on win, and I'm excited about it. As in a full Stade Francais, but I would like to see us win that way rather than maybe have France having a brain fart, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, I think the team's confident, and I think if we go in with confidence, and France are now starting to wonder, are they confident? And dare I say they're the underdogs at this one.
Right. Final question on this, Johnny. This is one for your specialist subject here. Scotland run out onto the pitch. Who is wearing the 15 jersey for Scotland?
Stuart Hogg. I can see the arguments for Kinghorn. He was great when he came on. He was really, really, really good in that Wales game. Has been anytime he's come on at fullback recently for Scotland. Hoggy was quiet the first little while, got injured. I can see why people are saying that. But at the end of the day, Stuart Hogg's about to hit 100 caps for Scotland. He's already a record try scorer. We know exactly what he can do. He's a talismanic player for Scotland.
Yeah.
And I've said this over and over and over again. Blair Kinghorn on the bench is a weapon that a lot of countries don't have. And I know people want to see him start, and every player wants to be starting, obviously. I don't think anybody goes, oh yeah, I want to be a really great bench option. But Blair Kinghorn is a bench option that most countries haven't got. And he could be a game changer off the bench in 3 or 4 positions. And that's a strength that we really need to utilise as much as we possibly can.
I think that's fair for me. I agree, Johnny. I don't think there's necessarily a massive argument there. I think Blair Kinghorn was exceptional week before last. Sorry, and I think he has looked great coming off that bench. And I think that's where we have said he does. That 22 shirt is his. It's a great shirt and it works really well. Assuming that everything goes to plan and Finn Russell can continue. But then that's always going to be the case because anybody you bring on at 22 that Finn Russell is coming off the park again is going to be a problem. It's going to hurt Scotland. Nobody, doesn't matter if you're a specialist fly half or, doesn't matter if you're Dan Carter. Finn Russell is better than you. Just enjoy it. So
that's a brave statement to make.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe peak Dan Carter, maybe not. But Dan Carter at Racing, Finn showed him up big time. Anywho, I was quite very Canadian. Anywho, right. We don't know where that came from. We will finish up with the free content for tonight. We will be back, obviously, next week to discuss what will be another Scotland Six Nations game. We will see how it goes. I'm not making any predictions. The podcasters will get the benefit of my accumulators at the weekend, I'm sure, which is always good fun. I was gutted in Wales. That was close. But anyway, we'll be back next week. We'll have a wee chat about the most ridiculous rescheduled fixture in URC history. And we'll have a wee look at the Six Nations and see where we're at. For now, it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Johnny, and goodbye from Craig.
Bye. All.
Well,